So I want to talk about bullying, which is, as you know, that big pink elephant in the room. It's hard to understand bullying, but it's important. It's hard to understand how 5% of our workforce could wreak such havoc among the rest of us. It takes an awful lot of time away from what it is we truly do and what we've decided to do with our professional lives. But in order to understand and really get our arms around the nature of bullying, we must first understand the temperament and the nature of a bully. Their nature is so different than ours. We are professional nurturers. We work with people to get them to an optimal level of performance, wellness, and so on. Not so much for a bully. So we're going to take a few minutes to go step by step into the nature and the temperament of a bully so we can start to understand it better, because it's so very different than what we're accustomed to. I characterize nurse bullies as narcissists with a license. Now that's harsh, but it's real. We need to take this closer look in order to truly understand what's going on and how we unwittingly can be a very big part of this problem. So, according to the American Psychiatric Association, the profile of a bully, number one, is having an exaggerated sense of self-importance. The bully actually believes that they're special and unique, and you're not. They expect recognition without any achievements that actually warrant it. They believe that they are superior, and they can only be understood by associates who are equally superior, which explains their leapfrogging behavior over a natural chain of command. You see, a bully is so special in their own estimation that their immediate superior, whether that be a charge nurse or an assistant nurse manager or a nurse manager, they're just not important or special enough to understand what they need to discuss or what the nature of their complaint is. So they're naturally going to be drawn to people in powerful positions who are as special as they are. They go directly to department heads, perhaps right to a director, and it's not uncommon for them to email even division directors, VPs of service lines, and so on. A bully requires constant admiration. Again, narcissist with a license. They have a sense of entitlement, and they expect special accommodations, and they cannot understand why you don't understand that they deserve them. They have an inability or unwillingness to recognize the special needs of others. Quite honestly, I think they lack the empathy gene that most professional caregivers have. So this fragile self-esteem, believe it or not, comes in the guise of someone who has a lot of bravado. They appear super secure. They get into your personal space. They come on as if, they are as confident as the Rock of Gibraltar, but quite frankly, their self-esteem is very, very fragile. All right? The thing to understand, and again, as I shared before, you never want to take on the management of bullying behavior alone, because bullies, narcissists, react very differently than others to criticism and feedback. While some of us might be hurt by some difficult to hear feedback, or some of us might feel, a little harsh in some of the critique that might happen, a bully or a narcissist will react angrily to criticism, and they take it a step further. They're not just hurt or angry or confused. They get revengeful. And they are going to make a plan to enact revenge to make sure that you never, ever consider doing this to them again. And it's going to be a revenge situation so that those in the immediate area would never even think of taking them on again, because they would not want to be the focus of such a campaign of revenge. Narcissist expects others to defer to their needs. My need comes first. It's unusual. It's aberrant. We don't understand how people think like that because we think so very differently. But it's important to understand that reasoning with someone who only sees their own needs is a waste of time. They overlook anything around them. You know, they really just want to serve their own personal agenda. They abuse special privileges, such as charge nurse roles or preceptor or perhaps the resource nurse role. They do not connect with the hurtfulness of their behavior or remarks, and they actually look quite condescendingly on the target, saying, well, you know, they just need to toughen up. You know, they need to, you know, get a veneer. They have to understand I didn't mean it and, you know, figure out what they have to do. But they'll never take ownership or accountability for their behavior. It's always going to be, I need to be accommodated by others. What's really important, and a little on the scary side, is the narcissist's secret weapon. I've never met a stupid narcissist, and I've never met a stupid bully. They usually are extremely smart and very, very skilled. In fact, this is their stock and trade. They are the smart person, usually on the unit, and the most skilled. And you hesitate to do anything about this because, quite honestly, you need their skills and you need them to, you know, have the knowledge to be in a charge position or a preceptor position or a resource nurse position, even in a leadership position. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they have the right stuff in the complete package to do those things effectively. They're also quite skilled. So again, they count on you needing those skills so that you hesitate to take definitive action to create a plan to address their aberrant behavior. They're also quite informed and usually pushed to be on different types of committees that they feel are powerful or at the center of things. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to share that information with you. In fact, I'd be surprised if they did. But it's very important for them to feel that they are in the inner circle of knowledge. They're attractive, they're charming, and sometimes seductive. In fact, they can demonstrate predator skills. It's scary. It really is. It's scary. They seek out those individuals who kind of communicate, either by body language or, you know, the proverbial mantra of, I'm new to this, I really don't know, but then they sense vulnerability and they act accordingly. So, when you are reprimanding them, when you are restating structure, when you are coaching them or trying to guide them in a better way of doing things, don't be surprised if they don't turn on the charm and tell you exactly what you want to hear. And you must be aware that if they are not able to sustain their commitment to doing things differently, that you are being played. It's the seductive behavior. They're going to talk to you in a sense of, you know, I never had a leader who really cared as much about my personal growth and development as you. I've never had a leader who really is trying to take charge of this unit and do the right thing. They will play to your ego, and you are being played like a fiddle. Beware. Look for the sustainability in what they claim they will be able to do in order to self-correct. And when it doesn't happen, you have to start realizing and becoming that much more immune to the seduction, to the charm, and to hearing those things that they think you want to hear. You see, we don't hear often enough just how special caregivers are. When the universe said, I need a group of very, very special people to dedicate their lives to the caring of others, professional caregivers, nurses, social workers, physicians, therapists stood up and said, I'll do it. And you raised your hand and said yes. It's the highest form of generosity that I know, dedicating your lives to the caring of others. And because we feel that if we just give a little bit more, we can appeal to someone's better nature, fix things, maybe just work a little bit harder, and they will get it. And then what we also find is that we get compassionate and empathetic with other people who are apparently trying but not succeeding. So we become increasingly patient with behavior that just cannot be sustained, especially when someone turns around and says to you, "Don't give up on me." Speaking your heart language. And actually what you're hearing is the message of codependency, and in this case, co-narcissism. It's hard. It's really hard to really think that you might be part of the problem, but this is one of our biggest problems, is that we don't want to give up on people, and we don't want to see the forest for the trees. And this is what is so frustrating to the 85% who are coming in trying to do the right thing day in and day out. They see what you don't. They labor under what you don't. And the bully narcissist is really manipulating the situation to keep moving the finish line so that you don't take a definitive end point with what needs to be done. So, when someone shows you their true colors, I think right here and now, each one of you as leaders need to make a personal commitment. If they're showing me their true colors, I'm not going to repaint them anymore. I'm going to see them for what's happening, as painful as that is, and I'm going to actually acknowledge that there is very little that I can do for them, and that the bully, narcissist, or chronically uncivil employee is going to have to make a personal decision to be accountable for their own behavior and change themselves. You can support and train and guide just up to a point, but you cannot fix. In comparison, I want to go over the characteristics or the profile of someone who's chronically uncivil. Now, remember, we talked about the 85% of staff who are trying to come in each and every day to do the right thing, and the 5% of those bullies who are, pulling the sand out from that good work, which leaves us with 10% of our workforce who are engaging in chronic uncivil behavior, but not necessarily bullying as I've described it in the past. So chronic incivility looks like behavior that is irritating and immature and disruptive, but it does not leave a target threatened, humiliated, or vulnerable. It just leaves them really aggravated and frustrated. They're chronically late for work or arriving for report. They're chronically late coming back from break to relieve others or, show up for the huddle. There's poor boundaries in personal life and challenges. Every day is another crisis about what happened in my life, and they're constantly distracting people with tales of their personal challenges. Chronic complaining, regardless of the issue, is not uncommon. They honestly see this as some kind of, career strategy. No matter what you present, no matter what initiative, no matter what good news or corrective action you're presenting to your team, they always have something to say and something to complain about. They walk around with the glass chronically half empty. They use inappropriate body language at huddles and meetings. You know what I'm talking about, rolling the eyes, taking a stance where they're, obviously irritated. You're wasting their time. I've heard this before. All right, and then, on a leadership level, there are those who chronically cancel meetings as if nobody's other time and coordination of meetings and timelines for the completion of certain projects is important. They're always relying on go-to staff, and I think I can share with you that I'm probably very guilty of this myself as a former director of nursing. Sometimes the day just goes that you don't want to hear the argument or feel the pushback. You just want to go to those people who do it for you no matter what. And it's really important that you take a minute and realize it's abusive to do that. There are times where we all have to step up and do the right thing, but that should be equally distributed among each and every staff member. One staff member doesn't chronically get to say, I'm not doing that, I don't understand that, they're going to do a poor job so that you never go to them again, where the 85% who are constantly showing up doing the right thing are now being used and somewhat abused because they don't know how to do anything other than a good job. So if you have a bar of performance on your unit or in your department, make sure that everybody is at least at that bar, that no one goes below the bar. Everybody can go above it, but no one can perform below that bar. And then, of course, we have those folks who chronically interrupt and talk over people and never let people complete a thought. These are really characteristics of incivility, rudeness, if you will. But it's very different than bullying because, again, however irritating it is, no one comes away feeling threatened. No one comes away feeling humiliated or vulnerable. So by comparison, if we look at bullying to uncivil behavior, we take a look and you can see that bullying leaves the target feeling threatened, vulnerable, and humiliated, where, again, chronic incivility and rudeness does not do that. When you start to work with the bully and you try to say to them, do you have any understanding how devastating that episode was for your coworker? Or do you realize that you were intimidating a patient's family member? They lack insight. They honestly don't make that connection. They are going to give you a lot of talk around and work around and excuses for not owning that behavior. Those who are chronically uncivil, with some assistance and perhaps some coaching, can have breakthroughs of insight, and they can say, okay, I could have done that better. I will go and apologize. And when they do that, they're sincere in that action. They're not giving lip service, and they're not trying to tell you what you want to hear. There is a real connection with the sense of rudeness that they came across with, and they're going to definitely try to do something to self-correct. The self-correction plan, however, is not something a bully can sustain. As we talked about the cycle of abusive behavior, they will go sometimes days, weeks, maybe even a month, 6 weeks pushing it, before they will again engage in some type of intimidation and behavior that is really threatening. The chronically uncivil person, however, can sustain a corrective action. Now, we're all human. I'm not saying there's going to be a magic bullet in any kind of corrective action. They may make strides towards doing it better, and they may fall back a little bit, but there is a progressive, noticeable improvement in trying to self-correct and sustain and find a better way of doing things. Following a chain of command, the bully just doesn't know how to do that. Again, most local leaders, the assistant nurse manager, the charge nurse, even the nurse manager, is not powerful or special enough for a bully to even bother with. So they will leapfrog right into directors, VPs, assistant directors, and so on. The chronically uncivil person will follow a chain of command. You may have to restate structure with them, but they can follow that. As soon as you say to them, listen, I would appreciate it if you speak, we do it this way, and they're like, okay, fine, they'll do it. But if you have to be very good at stating structure with that, because if they become irritated, they might go to the dark side there and leapfrog you again. And then there's the issue of revenge. A bully is definitely going to be revengeful. No two ways about it. They can't help themselves. You must be punished for not recognizing just how special and wonderful and brilliant they are. Unfortunately, the uncivil employee with low emotional intelligence might go to revenge as well. However, if you catch them in that and you give them an opportunity to correct, they will stop. The bully will not. The bully must play out the revengeful plan. But the chronically uncivil person might think of going there, start to go there, but may make a change of heart and regret that decision down the road. So, what does civility look like in the workplace? Well, this is what we want to try to nurture. We want to just really look at adult behavior, show respect for one another, ensure that everyone feels valued, contribute to mutual respect, have effective communication and collaboration. We want to be welcoming. It's important when people show up, especially people who are either temporary staff, such as our travel nurses, or in some cases maybe you have float nurses or nurses who are Gwens, go where they're needed. And when you're showing up into a unit that you haven't worked in for a while, it's important to be welcomed and feel like you're going to be part of the team, at least for that day. We're looking for basic interpersonal skills, such as courtesy, awareness of the rights of others and other people's feelings. And we're looking for people just to simply show respect, show a little restraint and self-control, disagree with poise, and refuse to participate in gossip. I don't know how to stop the gossip. The only thing I know how to do is walk away from it when gossip starts. So the bottom line here is disruptive staff present a real distraction to the workplace, and that we're finding that it's a real contribution to unsafe work environments that affect the morale and the mentality of our good, hard-working staff. And it is also contributing to workplace errors, which means that our patients and the patients' families are paying those consequences. It's unrealistic to expect staff to buy into anything you and your organization are trying to promote if they feel that you are turning a blind eye to the working situations that they are laboring under. So everybody needs to be held accountable to measure up to what is considered the code of conduct in your organization.